Hey everyone, and welcome to this Friday English pronunciation live training. I'm really excited to be teaching you some really important, really useful pronunciation tips to help you speak English clearly, feel more confident, and live the life that you want in English. So, thanks everyone who's already here right from the start of today's live training. I'm going to be live for about half an hour and I'm going to answer as many of your live questions as possible. So if you have any questions about difficult English sounds or difficult words in English or things that are making you lack confidence in English, ask me today and I'm going to do my absolute best to answer as many of your questions live today. Okay. Hi Shady, how you doing? Thanks for being here live on today's training. Hi Pricky, how you doing? Jonathan's here. Hey Jonathan. Antonio, welcome back. Welcome back everyone who's already been on my live pronunciation trainings. I know we've got lots of people coming back again. Hey Alberto, welcome back today. I'm so pleased that so many of you have come back. It shows that you're getting good value from them, which is great. Hi Ellie, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for joining. Hey Carolina, how you doing? Welcome to today's live English pronunciation training. So I'm very happy to get right into it and answer some questions live, okay? Everyone who's joining, thanks very much for being here right from the outset. And I'm going to get in and answer the first English pronunciation question that's already come in, okay? Ika from the Philippines, hey, thanks for joining. By the way, if you're watching this live on Facebook, unfortunately, the text is the wrong way around, okay? I can't seem to flip it on Facebook for some reason, okay, unfortunately. But I can tell you what this is all saying later on today. Just so everyone knows, I've got a new pronunciation tutorial that's coming out on YouTube today at 3:15, okay? It's a new pronunciation training, which I'm really excited for you all to see. So YouTube at 3:15 today. The YouTube channel is called English School Online, if you're watching this on Facebook. New English pronunciation tutorial today at 3:15 p.m. Okay. Hey Sai, how you doing? Right, so Antonio asked a question. And I'm just going to read Antonio's question and then I'll read it out loud for everyone to see. Okay. We are good at diving. How about you? How is the intonation or the stress pattern in questions? Is you pronounced in its weak or strong form? Okay, fine. So there's a couple of questions there. I'm going to answer the question about the pronunciation of the word you right from the beginning, okay? Because pronouncing the word you correctly will immediately make you sound much more natural in English. And the way that most people pronounce it makes them sound unnatural in English, okay? You have probably learned how to pronounce the word you like I've just said it there. You, you, okay? And that's one of the pronunciations of this word in English. But it's actually the uncommon pronunciation of this word. I only use the pronunciation of the word you like I've just said it in a couple of scenarios. The first one is if I'm talking about the word like I am now. So I'm talking about the word you, so I'm pronouncing it like that. The other time that I pronounce the word you like this is if I'm stressing that word to make a point. Who are you? Okay, or I'm talking to you. If I'm stressing the word you, I use that pronunciation, okay? But practically in all other scenarios, I use a different pronunciation of the word, and the name of this kind of pronunciation is weak form, okay? It's the weak form, the weak version of the word you. So I'm going to write the word you here. I'm sorry if you're seeing this backwards on Facebook, but I want you to be able to see it anyway. So you. The vast majority of the time that I pronounce this word in English, I'm going to not stress the word. And when I use it as an unstressed word in English, I pronounce it in a certain way. And first, let me say it as I would say it in this way, and then I'll explain it. So if I said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" Can you hear how the pronunciation of the word you is very different? It's not you, it's you. And the important thing here, and this is critical to you sounding natural in English, okay? The reason why I'm pronouncing it differently is because how English is spoken as a language. English is a language that's made up of stressed and unstressed syllables. Some words are stressed and louder, and other words are unstressed and quieter. And the vast majority of the time that I say the word you, it's unstressed and quieter. Let me give you that example again. What are you doing? What are you doing? I hope you can hear the stressed words in that question are what and doing. The other two words, are and you, are unstressed, and the only reason that they're there is to make the sentence grammatically correct, but they don't really convey much meaning in the sentence. So they're unstressed, and as a result, the pronunciation of them is different. And this is the case for 80 or 90 or even 95% of the time that you use the word you. Okay, so it's very important. It's actually more important that you learn the unstressed version of the word you than it is to learn the stressed version, because you want to be using the unstressed pronunciation of this word the majority of the time to sound natural in English. Okay, so I'll say the pronunciation one more time and then I'll explain. It's y, y, y. The two sounds in there are the y sound, which I'm sure you can already make, but then the vowel sound isn't oo, it's not you, it's just simply me going uh, 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 uh. My mouth isn't going into any wide positions. It's not E, it's not R, it's not or. My mouth is very, very relaxed and it's not doing anything. It's just making noise. For example, imagine you've just woken up in the morning and you're very tired and you're saying, what time is it? It's that kind of sound. It's very relaxed and it's very, almost like nothing. You're just making a bit of noise. So that is how you should be pronouncing the vowel sound in the word you the vast majority of the time. For example, I'll give you that question again. What are you doing? What are you doing? Can you hear how you is much quieter than the other two words? And you almost can't hear the word. It's there, but it's very, very quiet. What are you doing? Okay. That is how you pronounce it. Another example is instead of saying, will you be there? With natural English pronunciation, I'd say, will you be there? Will you be there? Will you be there? So it's not oo, it is not you. The pronunciation is ya. Will you be there? Will you be there? And whether you're speaking English formally or informally, the weak form pronunciation is correct. You want to be saying ya unless you're stressing you, or you're actually talking about the word. Okay, so Is that very clear? Does anyone have any questions on that at the moment? Because pronouncing this word with weak form pronunciation is so important for sounding natural when you're speaking English. Okay, if you have any questions about that so far, just ask. Okay. Antonio's asked a good example here, and he said, what about when it comes at the end of a question, how about you? And in this scenario, Antonio, I would use the strong form, the you, because, and this is important, the reason why in the question, how about you, is because there, you is one of the stress words in that question. Okay. For example, if I say, how are you? And you say, good, how about you? You is one of the words that you're stressing in that phrase. Okay. So if you're stressing the word you, if that's one of the important words in the question, the sentence, you use the normal strong pronunciation, you. For all other situations, you use you. What are you doing? Will you be there? Okay. Everyone, if you just take one thing from today's pronunciation training, take this, okay? Take this and practice some sentences, write some examples of how you speak English and use you with the weak form and practice it, okay? Because there's different ways to speak English clearly. The first thing is to be pronouncing sounds correctly. That will make you understandable. But then if you want to sound natural and speak English more like a native would, using what I've just explained to you is going to be very, very important, okay? Because this is how native speakers actually speak English, all right? And it makes English easier to speak, and it also makes English sound a lot more natural, okay? So Antonio, that's a great question. Well done for asking, okay? For everyone who's joining, thanks very much. Welcome back to another live English pronunciation training. Great to have you here. If you're new, I'm Michael and I help non-native English speakers to maximize their confidence in English so that they can feel more confident speaking English in career, presentations, meetings, and job interviews. Okay? So, another question came in. In fact, a few questions have come in. So I don't want to miss any questions. So let's see. Okay. Geordie's asked a really good question about yes or no questions. Okay. So Geordie has said, why do native speakers sometimes use a falling intonation when the rule is use a rising intonation for questions? So that question again is, why do native speakers sometimes use a falling intonation pattern when they're asking questions? And this is a really good question. The actual rule is that there's two intonation patterns that you can use when you're asking questions, okay? And this is amazingly important, okay? Because using intonation will make you a very effective communicator, okay? I can say the word no, this one word, no, I can say this in 5 different ways, and that would convey 5 different meanings, okay? So intonation is very, very important for being an effective communicator and communicating with a lot of confidence, okay? So to answer the question about the English questions, if I say, for example, I'm just trying to think of this because I'm just trying to think of a good example to explain this. Will you be here? For example, will you be here? Okay, will you be here? I'm not going to write it up. I'll just explain it. If I say to you, will you be here? Okay, it implies that it's a yes or no answer. okay, it implies that I'm looking for either a yes or a no answer. Will you be here? Okay, that's different to me saying, for example, what time will you be here? Okay, so we use different intonation patterns based on what we're expecting the answer of the question to be. Okay, for example, if I say, will you be here? I'm more likely to go in an upwards intonation if it's a yes or no answer. Yes or no. Okay, will you be here? I'm more likely to use an upwards intonation pattern. Whereas if I'm saying, what time will you be here? I'm more likely to use a downwards intonation pattern. Okay, will you be here? Yes, I'll be here, or no, I won't. But if I'm going to say, what time will you be here? I'm much more likely to use a downwards intonation. Okay, so this yes, no questions are called close-ended questions. You can answer with a one-word answer, yes or no. Open-ended questions, where you have to answer with more than just a yes or a no, I'm going to normally use a downwards intonation pattern. For example, right here I've got a bottle, okay? And you might say to me, what are you drinking? And you might use a downwards intonation pattern. Whereas if you said to me, are you drinking water? You'd probably use an upwards intonation pattern. Okay, let me say them both again, and I want you to listen carefully. Are you drinking water? Are you drinking water? I can answer that yes or no. Are you drinking water? Yes. Are you drinking water? No. All right. The answer, by the way, is yes, I'm drinking water. If you said to me, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? Downwards intonation. What are you drinking? Okay. Does that make sense? And is that nice and clear? Because, again, intonation and using intonation correctly can be very, very useful. I'm going to give a bonus intonation tip now, okay? I've taught intonation on my YouTube channel elsewhere in other live trainings, okay? And I might do some more live videos on them. But how do we answer these questions? Okay, so if you said to me, are you drinking water? If I answer a question with a downwards intonation pattern, where I go down, okay, that implies certainty and finality. So for example, if I say, yes, are you drinking water? Yes. I'm using a downwards intonation pattern, which implies I'm certain about what I'm drinking and it's final. Okay? If I said, if you said to me, are you drinking water? And I wasn't sure about what I was drinking, for example, here, I've got a cup of coffee. So if you said, are you drinking water? And then I wasn't sure whether I was drinking water or coffee, what I might say is, I might say, yes, I'm drinking water. But if I did a dip in my intonation, yes, yes, so I'm going down and up in my intonation, that would imply I'm uncertain about what I'm drinking. Are you drinking water? Yes. Okay, it implies I'm uncertain and maybe there's something else that I need to say. Okay. If I responded to you with a very flat intonation pattern, like this, where I didn't go up, I didn't go down, I didn't do anything else, I just said, yes, yes, yes. Are you drinking water? Yes. That would imply that I'm bored and don't really care about what you're saying, and I'm not engaging with what you're saying to me. Okay, so just imagine you're calling your company to change your electricity bill, or you're calling a company to talk about one of your bills. If the person on the other end of the phone is very bored and they don't really care about, talking to you, and they don't want to make an effort, their intonation pattern is going to be very, very flat. Hi, sir, how are you today? What can I do to help you? Is this useful? Okay. If you're talking with a very flat intonation pattern in English, that implies to the person that you're talking to that you're bored and not interested in what they're saying and not engaged in what they're saying. Okay, so the one intonation pattern that I don't recommend using in English is the flat one. All right. What about others? Because there's 5 intonation patterns in English. Okay, so it's really, really useful to be aware of them, because you can accidentally come across as rude in English if you accidentally use the wrong one. Okay, so what about another one? What about if you said, "Are you drinking water?" and I used an upwards intonation pattern, what would that mean? First of all, let me demonstrate it. Are you drinking water? If I said yes, 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 if I used an upwards intonation pattern on that yes, that would then mean I'm expecting you to then say something afterwards. So it means, okay, I'm going to say yes, but the intonation pattern means, why are you asking? Okay, the reason why you might use an upwards intonation pattern when you're asking a question is it implies that you're expecting someone to respond to you with some more information. So if I said, are you drinking water? I'm expecting you to give me an answer. If I answered yes, it means that I'm expecting you to give me a reason why you're asking. Okay. Can you hear the difference there? Let me just compare the difference. Yes compared to yes. Are you drinking water? Yes. Down. Certainty. Are you drinking water? Yes. Yes, I am. Why are you asking? What about, are you drinking water? Yes. I'm not sure if I am. Or maybe there's a bit of doubt there. Are you drinking water? Yes. I don't really care what you're saying. And the final one, which is less common in English, but we do use it, is if I'm expressing surprise or a very strong emotion about something. So for example, I'd be less likely to use it in this situation, but if I said, yes, are you drinking water? Yes. Okay, that up, down is a little bit, it kind of, it conveys surprise. Are you drinking water? Yes. Okay, a more realistic scenario where you would hear this intonation pattern is, for example, just imagine there's been some really big news and no one expected to hear this news. If I said to you, have you heard the news? You might say, yes, I can't believe it. Yes, 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 I can't believe it. Okay, so that there is surprise, surprise. All right, so those, I think we've covered all 5 now. Those are all 5 intonation patterns in English, okay? And when I've been working one-to-one with clients, I've often had clients say to me, I gave an answer to a question and someone thought that I was being rude. And they were not being rude. They were answering the question, with a nice answer. But the way in which they said it, the intonation pattern, made them sound rude in English. Okay, and that's why intonation is very, very important for communicating clearly, communicating effectively, and being able to convey more emotion when you speak. I was talking to a client of mine who's Russian, and I was teaching him intonation, and he was saying in Russian they speak very flat. The intonation in the language is very flat, and he was saying that that's why in English sometimes people thought that he was maybe being rude or not very conversational, but he was being conversational. It's just that he wasn't used to using intonation as it's used in English. Okay, so intonation is, it can take your English and make it much more effective as a communication tool. All right. So yeah, is that useful? I cover intonation very, very comprehensively in my coaching program, because it is really important to be able to use it if you want to become a highly effective communicator in English. If you want to find out more about that coaching program, just go to howtospeakenglishclearly.com. There's a Black Friday sale on it at the moment where you get 2 bonuses and also a my personal feedback and support on your pronunciation. Okay, so if you're interested in that, howtospeakenglishclearly.com. Alex has just said, and Alex is from Russia. Alex said, yes, Russian intonation in Russian is flat. Okay, so that's just an example of how different languages, the intonation is different, and it just means that it's useful to be aware of, certainly in English, that we've got 5 tones in English. People don't think of English as a tonal language, they think of Chinese as a tonal language. And whilst we don't have tones making words, excuse me. Hey James, by the way, James is joining today. James is in the UK. Hey James, how you doing? Great to have you here on the live. Much appreciated for joining. And also Isabel, great to have you here, Isabel. Thank you for watching live. I've just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, I've completely forgotten what I was going to say now. Yeah, intonation is super, super important. Okay, so let's just see. Hey Laura, thanks for joining. As soon as you've woken up, that's great. Monica has said, I had lessons with Michael and he helped me I helped you find your confidence, and you're now thinking about starting your own YouTube channel in English. Thank you, Monica. Yeah, Monica's a prime example of someone who I helped with her pronunciation, and she did a really good job. She put in a lot of effort, a lot of work. She was consistent with her practice, which is the #1 thing for success in English, and her pronunciation is very, very good now. She's completely transformed her pronunciation in English. And it's really improved your confidence, Monica, a lot. And yeah, Monica's a great example of just how much pronunciation can improve your confidence and change the sound of your English. So I'm really pleased to have been able to work with Monica. She's done a really, really good job. Thanks everyone who's tuning in, by the way. Hey, Informative English School, welcome. Hope you're doing well. And Sam says... Sam's a student of mine, by the way. Sam says, I'm a student of Michael, best investment ever. It has been a massive eye-opener. If he has any offers for Black Friday, I do, make sure you take advantage. It's worth it. Sam's a good example of also someone with pronunciation. He was experiencing discrimination because of his pronunciation, which is dreadful. And this is one of the main reasons why I teach pronunciation, because I hate seeing people who have learnt English not feeling confident and like themselves in the language. I believe that everyone should have the right to be confident and be themselves in English. And Sam and I have done some work. He's done a really, really good job. He's in my program. And yeah, again, a great example of someone who's put in some practice, implemented the kind of advice that we're going through here, and has transformed their confidence in English and now sounds more natural when they speak. Okay. Andrea says my board is back. Andrea, I'm sorry, you're right. You're watching on Facebook, and Facebook flips everything around. If you're watching this on YouTube now, the board's the right way around, okay? But I can't seem to do anything about it on Facebook, I'm afraid. But I'll explain what it all means. Okay, so what have we looked at so far? I've explained all 5 intonation patterns in English. I've explained how we use the 2 intonation patterns to answer questions. Okay. We also looked at the beginning how to use the correct pronunciation of the word you, which isn't you the majority of the time. Okay, native speakers pronounce you differently when they actually use it in English. All right. So we've already gone through some really exciting stuff today, and I'm pleased I've been able to help with this. Let's see just if there's any other questions. Okay. Okay, so Grace has asked a good question that everyone can benefit from watching here. Okay. Grace has said, how do we say is there? So I'm going to write it on the board so everyone can see just exactly what I mean here. But Grace's question specifically is because the TH sound in the is quite hard to say with your tongue sticking out in between your teeth. Okay, so let me just write it on the board. Okay, and by the way, I taught the pronunciation of you earlier, which is ya, the majority of the time. The is the same example. The pronunciation of the is not the vast majority of the time in English. About 90% of the time, or maybe even 95%, we do not pronounce the word the as it is spelt in English. Okay, it's very rarely pronounced the. The majority of the time, it's pronounced with the tongue in between the teeth, and then with a schwa sound after it. The. If any of you want to make sure that you're pronouncing the word the correctly, I've got a tutorial on YouTube teaching all 3 pronunciations. And I tell you when specifically to use each pronunciation, okay, which is really, really important for English. Someone on Facebook has just asked, what's my YouTube channel? I'll just write it here on the board. It's going to be backwards, but I'll write it. It's English, then the word school, English. Sorry, I can't talk and write at the same time. If you're watching on Facebook, my YouTube channel is English School Online. Okay, so English School Online. Just type that into YouTube and it should come up right away at the top. There's a lot of pronunciation tutorials there, okay? And I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't done so already. English School Online, okay? So the question was, is the? Is the? For example, is the weather in England hot today? Is the weather in England hot today? The answer is no. So is the weather in England hot today? And here's what you need to know about this, okay? The TH sound in English, the tongue comes between the teeth. Normally, the. It's very, very important that you can do that tongue position for natural sounding English. The. Okay? However, excuse me. If you were on yesterday's live training, you would have seen me teach assimilation in English, which is when native speakers often make one sound more like another sound to make it easier to say. So here, in these 2 words, we've got 2 consonants next to each other. We've got the the Z sound, is, and then we've got the voiced TH sound, okay, which phonetically looks like that, okay, is the. However, in quick English speaking, what's much, much more likely to happen the majority of the time is, to make this easier to say, my tongue isn't going to actually come out in between my teeth for this sound here. And what's more likely to happen is I'm going to make this sound from a position in my mouth that's more like the Z sound. So it's actually going to sound more like a Z sound. And then when you add connected speech to that, it's basically going to sound like a long Z sound, like this, okay? So it would sound like is the, with a schwa sound at the end. Is the, let me just come closer to both cameras here. Is the, okay. That's an extreme example. My tongue might go out a little bit in between my teeth, but not the full way out. Is the, okay. But this is an example of what's called assimilation in English. It's something that native speakers do to make English easier to speak, because native speakers are quite lazy and we tend to get quite lazy with English. You don't need to learn this to sound natural in English, okay? And it's, as I said, it's still vitally important that you can make the TH sound with your tongue in between your teeth, because there are thousands of examples in English where you'll use the TH sound where you will not do this. So I'd still recommend saying is the, consciously putting your tongue in between your teeth. Is the, is the, is the. Is the weather hot today? Is the weather hot today? Is this water? Is this water? But it does happen. And if you're listening to quick English speaking, and especially informal English speaking, you may very well hear, is this water? Is this water? Is this water? Okay. And again, it's just a thing that native speakers do to make English easier to speak, all right? You don't need to learn this to speak English naturally and confidently and clearly, okay? But it's just a useful thing to be aware of, because I know a lot of you have become very aware when you're listening to English. You've really trained your listening very, very nicely. And as a result, you're now picking up on things like this, which is great. The more aware you can be of things like this, the more this is going to help your English speaking, okay? So really, really well done. This is a good question to ask, and I hope this has been useful, okay? So I've just got time for one more question, okay? I'm about to do a live coaching call with my students who are in my coaching program. If any of you want my personal guidance on your pronunciation and you want a complete course on intonation, connected speech, weak forms of words, all confusing sounds, everything that you need to maximize your confidence in English for your career, then go to howtospeakenglishclearly.com. There's a Black Friday sale on my course where you get some really, really good bonuses, and the price is dropped massively, okay? So head over there if you want my support and lifetime access to my coaching program, all right? Let's just see. Kujin's joined. I probably pronounced your name incorrectly there, Q, but welcome. Trish has joined as well. Welcome, Trish. Great to have you here. Thanks everyone who's joining, by the way. Always good to have you here. Hey, Marcos. How you doing? Yeah, by the way, if you are interested in the course, by the way, there's lots of success stories. Monica and Sam are both on YouTube watching this live right now, and they've done a really good job in the program with my support. They've done a terrific job on their pronunciation, and I'm really proud of the results they've got. And it can be you too. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee when you join the course, so there's no risk. You join it and take a look around, see if it's for you, and yeah, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's completely risk-free. Okay. Let's just see. There's time for one more question. Okay, Maha has said, this is important. Maha has said, and I hope I pronounced your name Maha. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Maha. Maha has said, he says every day he feels upset speaking English. Can I talk to you about motivation? Yes, I can. When I learned Portuguese, I felt very unconfident because I knew that I was making pronunciation mistakes a lot of the time. And I knew that I was making stupid mistakes, or mistakes that made me feel stupid and made me sound stupid. I'm sure most of you know this story, but I went into a restaurant and asked to drink poo water in Portuguese because I had the same difficulties with hearing foreign sounds to what a lot of you have in English. So I understand the difficulties. And I also know that it made me look a bit silly and come across as a bit silly, okay? So in terms of motivation, listen, the fact that you're watching my pronunciation lives now shows that you're interested in pronunciation. And the number one thing you can do to sound more natural in English is to work on your pronunciation. Okay, there's my YouTube channel and Facebook page where there's lots of free content. There's my coaching program where there's a lot more content and my support. But in terms of motivation, know this, okay? If you practice something, you will get better. It's just a fact of life that if you practice something, you will get better at whatever it is that you're practicing. No matter how bad you are, okay, no matter how bad you are at anything you do, if you practice it, you will get better. It's just how humans work. So no matter how unconfident you're feeling in your English, if you keep practicing your pronunciation and keep working on the tutorials that I put out there, you will improve your pronunciation, okay? The vast majority of people who learn English never consider learning pronunciation. So if you start learning pronunciation and just doing one small thing at a time, you're immediately putting yourself ahead of most people who have learned English but never learned pronunciation, okay? The other thing is, I've worked with a lot of students who have started off having terrible confidence in English because they struggle a lot with pronunciation. But as a result of them being consistent with their practice, they've overcome their difficulties. They've had, I mean, nearly everyone, so many times I've worked with people, or people have been in my course, and they've said that they now feel confident to have conversations that they never would have had before. I'm working with a gentleman from Taiwan at the moment who works for a very big IT company, and he's very senior, but he lacked English he lacked confidence in his speaking. We did some work on his pronunciation, and then he was in his building one day, and he said that he was getting the lift to go up a floor, and the lift door opened, and there was an English speaker, a Chinese speaking person in the lift. And he said normally he would have avoided getting in that lift and he would have waited for another one to come. But because we'd done some work on his pronunciation, he felt so much more confident that he got in the lift and had a conversation in English with this person. So, and that's just one example. I've had other people saying they now feel confident to go and have dates in English with the opposite sex. I've had people saying they've stopped getting discriminated because of their pronunciation. I've had people saying they now feel just all sorts, right? So, and that's all just simply from working on their pronunciation. So this comes back to, I wouldn't rely on motivation to improve your pronunciation. I'd rely on knowing that if you do something every day and practice for just a few minutes every day, you will get better. Okay. And no matter how difficult you find English pronunciation right now, if you practice it, you will get better. Okay. The only other thing I'd say is this. Okay. It's not about speaking English perfectly. English speakers don't speak English perfectly. Okay. I mean, there's times that I don't speak English perfectly. Like, no English speaker speaks English perfectly all the time. Okay. So don't try and think but that you need to speak English perfectly all the time. All you can do is your best. Every time you speak English, all you can do is your best. And if you do that, then there's no reason to be nervous or to be scared or to be upset, because it's out, what other people think of you speaking English is out of your control. All you can control is whether or not you do your best and whether or not you practice things like pronunciation to help you to feel more confident, so that when you are speaking confident, you sound more natural. Okay. So, for example, and just to put that into context, this live right now, I could make all sorts of mistakes, and there's different people watching from all around the world here, and I could make a lot of stupid mistakes and be very nervous and scared. But I know that all I can do is my best, and you might not like what I say, and I might make some silly mistakes, but as long as I've done my best, that's all I can do. And I know that as long as I've done my best, then I'm happy with that. Okay. And I'll keep trying to get better and better and better. Okay. So there's just a few things there. One, you can only do your best. And as long as you've done your best, then, don't worry, you've done your best. Two, if you practice, you will get better. And three, the reason why I give a lot of free tutorials away constantly is because I want you to feel as confident speaking English as you do speaking your native language. Okay, that's why I do this. I want you to feel that confident. And the tutorials that I create, they get results. I know they get people results. Okay, and one of the main things that motivates me is the fact that every day I get messages on YouTube and also Facebook from people saying thank you. So like, just binge watch as many of the tutorials as you can, put in the effort with them, and I promise that you will get better. Okay, it's as simple as that. And with that in mind, what I'm going to suggest is this. Okay, if any of you have joined this tutorial late, I recommend watching it from the beginning, because we've covered some really advanced things today that are massively important for helping you to speak English like a native. We've looked at all 5 intonation patterns and how they mean different things. We've looked at how to ask questions with upwards intonation and downwards intonation. We've looked at how to pronounce the in English correctly and how to pronounce you in English correctly. And it's not how most people think it is. And we also looked at some other stuff as well. So I recommend watching this back if you've missed it. I've also got a new video coming out today at 3:15 on YouTube. Okay, and it's a premiere, so I'll be there to answer your questions when the video comes out. So 3:15, English School Online is the YouTube channel name. Join me at 3:15 today to watch the new pronunciation tutorial. It's a really useful pronunciation tutorial on suffixes in English and how to pronounce them correctly. So very, very important to get right. And if you've liked the help that I've given you here today on this live, then you will absolutely love my coaching program, where you get my personal support on your pronunciation. You get an end-to-end solution for your English pronunciation, no matter where you're starting, however natural sounding you want to get to, everything's in there to help you progress. Intonation, linking speech, just everything is there. Everything that I'd love you to have is there. And if you want to find out more about that and see the bonuses you get today and also the discount, just head to howtospeakenglishclearly.com, howtospeakenglishclearly.com. Everything's there, including videos from students who are in the course and who've used it to get results themselves. So you can see a bit about what it's like to be a student in there. And also you get a 30-day money back guarantee. So there's zero risk for trying it out. I put the 30-day money back guarantee there because I want you to have this confidence in your English. So I don't want you to be scared thinking that if you try the course and you don't like it, then you're stuck. You're not. There's a 30-day money back guarantee, so you can try the course, experience some of the benefits, and then if it's not for you, then that's fine. Okay, you can get your money back. So 3:15 today, new pronunciation tutorial. I'm about to go and do a live coaching call for my students in my pronunciation program. We're looking at the schwa sound today and how to use it to make your English flow with stress and all this kind of stuff. It's going to be a really, really useful tutorial. So to all my students who are watching this live now, thank you for joining me live here on YouTube. I'll see you on Zoom in about 5 minutes time. And for everyone else, 3:15 today, new pronunciation tutorial coming out on suffixes in English. It's going to be really, really useful. And thank you for joining me live. I hope you're all doing really, really well. And if you missed some of this tutorial, go back and watch it from the beginning. I promise you will be very pleased that you did, because we've covered some really vital stuff on here today. Okay, so thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. I hope to see you in the program whilst the discount is still going. And say yes to your confidence, say yes to speaking English clearly, and say yes to achieving your potential and living the life that you deserve to in English. I'll see you very soon, okay? Have a great weekend, and thanks for watching me live.